This is the Power Producers Podcast, where we are refining and redefining the sales game.
Rule number one is you have to believe in yourself. You're the only one who doesn't think you belong in this appointment. The prospect has already validated your existence by scheduling time with you. Get it through your head you belong here, go in there, crush it, and close the deal.
A place where sales professionals can come to learn from other sales professionals and thought leaders that have mastered their craft.
The difference between a good salesperson and a best-in-class salesperson is only 2 minutes. By spending an extra 2 minutes on what you might think is a mundane task in the sales game, you separate yourselves from the pack, you grow your book of business, you close more deals, and you retain your accounts.
As well as their peers who are still striving for perfection to achieve their why.
I have a wife and 4 kids. Failure is not an option.
Real sales professionals, real stories, real results. Are you ready to feel the power?
Hey everybody, welcome to the Power Producers Podcast, where we are refining and redefining the sales game today from the great state of Texas, San Antonio to be specific. We have Mr. Aron Robertson. What's up, bud?
Brother, living the dream. Appreciate you guys having me. I've listened to the podcast for pretty much every episode. I've got caught up like I told you, and I'm honored to be here, and I'm excited.
Yeah, man. Nice. So let's talk a little bit of shop, but before we do that, tell everybody who you are, how you got to where you're at.
So, contrary to previous guests, like that story is not going to be told here. I didn't, I didn't come off from an insurance background. My dad didn't own an agency. I could barely spell the word insurance, but so born in Baytown, Texas. I was there until I decided to go join the Marine Corps. My dad was a Marine, my uncle was a Marine. Went to the Marine Corps and did that. It was a lifelong dream to be a Marine. Did 2 tours in the Marine Corps and then come out. Made my way to Texas Tech, where I got a biology degree and minored in chemistry and forensics. So naturally, I own an insurance agency, so that's how that worked.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was thinking, you're telling me it's not a normal track. I don't get
hand
it.
in hand.
Right, yeah, everybody does that. So, graduated Texas Tech, got offered a job doing what I went to school for, forensics, in the Harris County Medical Examiner's Office, and the pay wasn't what I wanted to be. I was actually selling cars while I was in college, making pretty decent money for a quote-unquote part-time car salesman, and just didn't work out. So I got into sales. I've listened to a lot of the podcasts previously, you guys, and the sales game with you guys is strong. Like the cold calling, the door-to-door, the B2B stuff, that is my wheelhouse. I did telecom sales. I know, Kyle, you've done some telecom stuff, but I did door-to-door with a company and made my way back to Lubbock. I was drowning there financially, but I was great at it. Just the cost to do business there was so high. Gas was $4 a gallon in Houston at that time. And I was driving a Tahoe 150 miles a day. Yeah, that kind of put a dent in your pocket. So I made my way back to Lubbock. Had a family friend or a part of the family that was actually in insurance with Aflac, and he was buying a car from for his son, and I sneaked a peek at what he was making for the year, and I said, "There's no way in hell. This guy is not as good as me. He's not going to work harder than me, and he definitely will not want it more than I do." So that's why I decided to get in the insurance business. Started with the health insurance side with the Aflac, became a manager, built a team from about 250,000 up to about 1.3 million in about 3 years. And then decided my customers want more from me than just Aflac. I don't need to tell them they need general liability and work comp and things like that. I don't need to tell my neighbors and friends that they need homeowners insurance and auto insurance. They know they need it. So decided to kind of offer. So I'm a bit of a sadist when it comes to that. I do health insurance, I do Aflac, I do life insurance, I do the PNC side, personal lines, commercial. So we're well diversified, and I'm kind of trying to kind of build a niche for myself in that I'm the anti-USAA. We're the independent version of USAA here in San Antonio. Military City, USA. Very proud of San Antonio, and love working with my veterans.
There you go.
That's
I
awesome,
had
man.
a
That's kind of
V8 Dodge Durango when gas was $4 a gallon, so I feel your pain, man.
Yeah,
It
that's
was
brutal.
a nightmare, dude.
I got both of you guys beat. I was driving. Well, I should say I was. My wife was driving an Infiniti QX56.
Yeah,
I
mean,
think it
that's
got single digits.
oh, dude, it was crazy, man. And
per
I was
gallon.
that's the same time I was doing door to door. I'm curious what was like the biggest thing that you learned from that experience of the door to door sales.
All day long, the most valuable lesson I learned is, and it kind of ties into to David's extra 2 minutes, but one more call, right? I did strip centers. We hit things that would not be even remotely something I would consider now. But with that, I was selling T1 circuits when T1s were cutting edge and Star Trek stuff, right? And now they have stuff like this way beyond. But the most valuable lesson is success comes in numbers. I can't make 3 calls and go, oh well, okay, it's just not working, and I go turn around and give up. The gold is in the masses. You have to make more contacts. I talked myself into going into one more strip center.
Yep.
The very first account that I walked into is a dentist office, just so happened to own 5 locations and was the biggest account I ever wrote. And
Funny how that works, huh?
Had to convince myself to, it's like, look, go to this one last strip center and then you can go home.
Yep.
I finished and it was a gold, yeah.
There were so many days where that was the case, where it was just, I was just getting railroaded and just smacked in the face with no's, and then you go in to, one last, like you said, strip center or, office park or whatever, and you just walk in on something that's either huge or they're just like, they've been waiting for you to come, and it's like,
Yeah.
it's just funny how that works.
And I think
You finally got here, man. You finally got here.
Yeah.
We've been waiting all day. How much do I make the checkout for? What
Where
am I
have you
buying?
been, dude? Yeah.
I've been calling the home office and can't get a rep out here. All right.
That's
cool.
funny. I mean, it's crazy. I actually am probably the opposite of the majority of business owners out there, in that I'll give the people the time of day. Most of the time, because if they're any good, I'm going to consider talking to them about coming to work with me.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
and Kyle's heard me before, man. If they come in their week, I tell them. I mean, I don't even make up excuses. I'm like, you know what, your entry was weak, bro. You
So,
gotta
dude,
come
I
back
did
a
the
little
same
better than
thing
that.
up at the Lutz office, man. Somebody walked in selling office supplies.
Well, WB Mason, they're all
That's exactly
over
who it was, and I was like, oh, and a quill person walked in there too, and so I was like, because that's what I used to sell, same company or whatever, and I let them pitch me, and I was just listening to it, and I'm just, it's been, I don't know, 4 or 5 years since then, but I still remember word for word the pitch and all that, and I'm just like, all right, here's a few pointers for you, and so it was interesting.
Get a job in insurance. Point number 1.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'll tell you what, man, the Aflac thing is interesting to me, because that's kind of and I mean absolutely zero disrespect by the business. It's kind of a backwards way to get into the agency world. Most of the time people have an agency first doing the other things, and then the Aflac guy comes in and is like, hey, you really need to add this to the mix.
Right.
You already having that, actually, I find to be intriguing. And I mean, I'm a big proponent of Aflac and all of the other short-term products like that, because it's a huge benefit for companies to offer to their employees, but more importantly, it's got a directly correlatable effect on workers' comp loss ratios if you have that product in place. And I've got all the statistical data around it. So for us at the point of sale, that's one of the things that we do is, we bring up, you should have a voluntary program for your employees, because statistics show that, you're going to decrease your loss ratio by a significant percentage for you having that. And I don't think business owners think about that. Number one, the business isn't even paying for it in most of the cases, right? Unless they've got like a cafeteria plan or something, and then, they give their employees an opportunity to pick and choose how they spend that money, and that's one of the offerings. But, when you sit down and explain to them that everybody's on the fence when they get hurt, and I'm not even talking about at work, like somebody's moving their apartment over the weekend and pulls their back on Saturday, feels a little worse on Sunday. They have a decision. Do I want to limp around and wait till Monday and pretend like I was offloading a water heater from the back of a box truck? Or do I need to go to urgent care today? And if you have it available for them, chances are they're going to fall on the right side of the fence instead of filing a fraudulent comp claim. But the other thing is, you're really doing your injured employee a service, because they're going to get their money in like 24 hours. It's insane to me how quickly those claims are paid out. And Aflac makes no bones about it. They're happy. That's what they hang their hat on is we will pay the claim faster than anybody else. And boom, it's in their account.
100%. And I think, now Aflac, because I know this side of it, Aflac is, for me, has changed a little bit. Products are second to none. I have nothing to say. Some of the management stuff just didn't fit my style so much. But I'll tell you what, I personally think the CEO of Aflac for his family creating this business, because where I came from, my trajectory in life was to go, okay, graduate high school, try not to get anyone pregnant, go to work at a plant and wear fire retardant clothing for the rest of your life until you get cancer around 62 and pass away. That's kind of
an oddly definitive plan.
Right. That's what a lot of people and
escalated very quickly.
In Baytown, Texas, Deer Park is right across the channel, and there's tons of refineries. That's what you do when you go to work at a refinery. And
honestly, it's not altogether different than Parkersburg, West Virginia, where I graduated high school.
Yeah, so
you go across the river and work for DuPont.
Yep, there we go. And that I'm sure that has challenges of its own. Aflac showed me something more. Never in my life would I ever conceive that I would ever made six figures in my life. That put me on a course. I thought, my clients want to work with me. And I realized pretty quickly that I am the commodity, not the product. The relationship I build with my clients is what they're trying to buy. It's not the product. I can remove that product and go, product B is better, and they take it from me and I say it. They're like, okay, well, we're going to buy from Aron because he said it. So, and frankly, the ACA Obamacare thing that came out really created a lot of confusion in the market, in my opinion, on the consumer side, because they didn't know what they had to have, what they were financially obligated to have, what they could provide, what they could contribute, what it did. So it really made them lean on us as brokers and agents to say, bro, just make this easy for me. What do I have to do? What can I do? And how much is it going to cost me? Take this off my plate. So when I started doing that for Aflac and then health insurance, I was like, why am I leaving so much money on the table? It made no sense to me. So I just decided, hey, I'm going to make this thing about an agency, grassroots, community networked marketing. We market here in the community. We do a lot of things for the community, a lot of veteran stuff. We're actually knocking off Mr. Paradiso and doing the Flag Day thing here in San Diego. And it's, brother, every time I talk about it, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. I've got some veteran-owned businesses coming on board that are going to jump in. The cigars I sent you, David, Warfighter Tobacco is going to be there. Those guys are fantastic. Warfighter Tobacco out of San Antonio, great cigars. Other companies like that to come in and make it something special. So I just learned that we can do multiple things at once, and I don't need to, as you said, do it backwards and try to convince someone they need a product when they're trying to buy this other stuff. We can still do Aflac, and I can still supplemental and health insurance, and I still do it, but I can take care of these other needs and solve problems that they know they have already.
I'll tell you what I really appreciate about the relationship we have with the Aflac people that we use in the agency is I don't lift a finger, man. They own the enrollment company, and so if we are doing anything with benefits, which we don't do anything directly with benefits at this point, but if we were, I could have them handle all the benefits enrollment, all of the Aflac enrollment, whatever other products that they're selling, and they're educating these people in English and Spanish if necessary, and literally I show up with coffee and donuts to that meeting, and I'm just the mayor. I'm walking around shaking hands, kissing babies, and doing it with a smile on my face because I understand I'm making money for the longer these people are sitting at these tables. And I think it's a place where property and casualty agencies, by and large, probably don't pay attention to that as a revenue stream as much as they should. Because I honestly believe that if you're out and you're dealing with workers' comp, it's a natural conversation, man. So, when I say you sort of went backwards, it wasn't necessarily from your agency growth. It's that I think that a lot of agencies exist and don't have what you already had, but you built that part first, and then you sort of backed into the other things. And the beauty of it is, if you're really out at the point of sale having the workers' comp conversation the way that you should always be talking about benefits. You should always be talking about voluntary, because if you don't have those two things, guess what? There's a high likelihood your mod's going to be higher, your loss ratios are going to be higher, and so ultimately you're going to be paying more premium. And if you have a couple of case studies where you have gone in and done that before, where you've put in the voluntary and you've looked at the benefits to see if they're offering adequate benefits and given them benchmarking reports, that's a big deal, man, because you can show them, it would cost you this much, but if you don't do it, it would also cost you this much. You're just not giving anything to your employees to improve morale and culture as part of that. And so we're really heavy on the financial modeling piece of that.
Yeah, I was going to say, the first time I heard you talk about that, it kind of really opened up. I had never thought about that. I mean, I had known workers' comp and I had known Aflac and all of the supplemental stuff to be, a separate thing, but didn't really see how they correlated. I mean, maybe there's people out there listening to this that kind of don't really get that. Maybe you can elaborate a little bit on how they relate and what you're talking about as far as, you're likely to have more workers' comp claims, have a higher mod if you don't have those things in place.
Well, it's funny, and I'd be interested in Aaron's opinion on this, because I think that it's fairly accurate. But I think that insurance agents view Aflac guys like everybody else views insurance agents, right? Meaning that, you've got the Aflac guy in your BNI group. Nobody wants to talk to him because he's the one who's always looking for the referrals and, this, that, and the other. And that's what everybody else thinks about the insurance guy that's in the BNI group, right? So it's kind of an interesting dynamic. We're fortunate in that the people that I've worked with have been top shelf. The guy was an officer in the military before he retired, and so he runs that enrollment team with Bob Klinger type precision, and it's just, it's insane to see how they do it. But the other thing about Aflac that I really, really like, and again, I like things where I can bring somebody in that make me look better, right? And so I think that if you get with the right one, the technology piece, right? So there was a piece of software that they had that if you had the right size of an account, it would search the employee list, and you could also applicants to determine the tax credits you could get as a result of hiring one applicant over another one based on whether or not they had been in the military or several other factors. I don't want to speak out of turn on that, but it just blew my mind when I saw the case study, how many dollars companies saved on their taxes because of the credits they were getting as a result of what this report showed. And it has nothing at all to do with voluntary benefits. It's 100% just a value add that they're giving that nobody else is giving. And I think that's probably why I was attracted to it so much.
And what you're talking about is called work opportunity tax credits, right? So work opportunity tax credits, or they call them WOTCs, which I refer to as, when you tell a business owner they have WOTC credits available, and I spell out work opportunity tax credits, their head turns like a dog that's heard a weird sound. He's like, what the hell are you talking about? And I'm like, you hire someone to an empowerment zone who has a criminal record, we'll leave it at that, or a veteran, which I find those things kind of, why are we putting veterans in there, right? Being one. But, hey, easy. But no, those things mean, I work with a company called iSolved, and they're a vendor of mine, and we worked well with those guys to do that with our agency. And I said, hey, not only can I do your health insurance, I can do your supplemental insurance, your group life. I can actually bring in work opportunity tax credits to help you pay for all these things that you're going to now contribute to. So just making things, the pitch that I have is kind of like the elevator pitch is, hey, if you have just about 10 minutes, if I could take a few things off your plate and make your life super simple from a business administration standpoint, could you entertain me over a cup of coffee and see how I can help you? If I can, if not, that's okay. We'll shake hands and part as friends. Something like that. It's a little bit of an ask to say, do you have some time to spend? But if I say if I can help you, great. If not, then of course, I may lean into the health insurance side of that. I may lean into the, hey, we just got a smoking hot rate on XYZ insurance with this certain carrier. It's the same type of business. Can we have that conversation and then pivot to the other stuff? But I just thought that, with the Obamacare ACA, business owners, in my personal opinion, are looking for a simpler way of doing things. And what I found with the Aflac thing is I developed relationships real well with these business owners, and I wasn't just the annoying Aflac guy that comes and bothers you when the bank account gets low. He's like, hey, do you know anybody who does this? Do you know who does this, this? And so I was kind of, like you said, the mayor of the insurance bill, to borrow that phrase. They were asking me for stuff, and I'm like, why am I not doing this? Why am I not, solving those problems for my clients? And that's kind of what led to doing it. So I am very thankful for the Aflac knowledge that I got. I don't regret one day I spent with them. I just decided I had to kind of reinvent myself and my agency to solve more problems.
I think the thing you've got going for, I think the thing you've got going for you is right now is exactly why I got into the industry, right? So when I sat down with the guy that originally recruited me to come into the insurance industry, he laid it out for me like this. He said, every client has $100 to spend on insurance, and that $100 is in $520 bills. When I open the agency and bring you in to produce, your job is to go in and get as many of those 20s as you can. And that resonated with me. I like that, because if I didn't have the ability to deal with benefits or life or 401k or the other offerings that we had, I was limited to only getting $20 out of the 100, and the other 80 was going somewhere else. And we've basically set up our agency right now the exact same way. We can literally do anything, even though we don't necessarily do it directly. So for employee benefits, we have a joint venture set up. I don't want to have to build out a back end for benefits. That's not what I do. I'm not interested in it. I understand it. I can sell it. I'm licensed for it. But I'd rather refer that to somebody else if I can.
Right.
I was going to say the thing that stood out to me from your elevator pitch there was just the indifference, and I think that's what makes you a little bit, come off not as that thirsty Aflac agent, or the guy in B&I that's always hunting and asking for the referrals. I think that part's key. Just kind of leaving it. Hey, look, I'm just looking to chat with you and see if we can, find some common ground and help out. And if not a big deal. I'm going to be the first person to walk away and shake your hand and say thank you for your time. I think people are more open to that approach, at least in my experience, than the other.
Because everybody has the the no soliciting sign on their door and all that, and and I mean, Kyle, when you did cold calling, did you walk in a door that said no soliciting?
No, dude. Let me tell you, you haven't heard that podcast yet. It's been a long time since I've shared it, but my all-time favorite Kyle move is when they had the no soliciting sign on the door, and he goes in and the lady says, sir, did you see our no soliciting sign? And he said, yeah, it's broken. That's why I brought you a new one. And hands her a no soliciting sign.
Nice.
It's obviously not working, lady. That's why I'm in here. I need to give you a new no soliciting sign.
or a bigger one, right? I didn't see it actually. We sell them. Let me get you a bigger one so you can stop people from coming in here. But and so at that point, like if you don't laugh at that or whatever, you just I
don't want to talk to you anyhow. No, if that's not funny for you at that point,
right? Yeah, you don't need to be my client. See ya.
And I think and how I run things a little differently is that a comedy piece of that, where people would walk in and someone would maybe say, "Oh my God, do you not see that no solicit sign? Can't you read?" or something like that, or something worse, maybe in Texas. You got to laugh at that. I had a similar situation happen to a lady, to me and a buddy of mine. I was working for that T1 company, and my buddy's name was Johnny Mack. He's from Ole Miss, and good dude. And he walked in, and this lady came at us guns blazing and just said something like that. And so we finished the strip center, and he's like, man, she was kind of rude. I said, but let's go back. He goes, are you crazy? I was like, no. I said, let's take your tie off. Let's change our appearance a little bit. I said, let's go back to the exact same pitch, but do it for soliciting donations for the March of Dimes. She's like, I was like, we've never been here before in our life, man. I made a fake name, and her mind was blown. But she was like, you were in here with this company called, I was like, ma'am, I don't know what a T1 circuit is. I'm asking for donations, and if you could help us out. And she was like, what? But to make it, you have to make that kind of fun, because only sadists will get out of a car in Houston in 100-degree heat and humidity and go in a suit and knock on 100 doors in a day. Yeah, and enjoy that somehow. You've got to find ways to make that fun. And I also bring that over to my agency now. We have more fun here. I mean, we enjoy the hell of ourselves, and life is too short, not to do that. So I borrowed that from my former career and make it fun. So I have a blast.
Speaking of your former career in the Marines, is there anything that you took from that experience that you apply today?
Every damn thing. I mean, I mean, the thing, I try to explain this to other people who are either, like, I've got some employees that we're talking today that, what is it about the Marine Corps that's different? And I said, I don't know that I can explain it. The Marines, a guy's a Marine, like Chris Paradiso's best friend is a Marine. And I've never met the guy in my life. He's an older gentleman. When I met him, we broed up. It was like an instant bond. I don't think you have that bond with other soldiers or Navy or Air Force or Coast Guard or, those guys. I think the bond we have is so tight, and that inherent trust is there. Once I say, hey, I'm a Marine, and I know, what you're going through. I know, the challenge you had. I had them too. I didn't know where to go to look for the GI Bill. I didn't know how to apply for the Hazelwood Act. I didn't know how to get myself into college. But I think the persistency to keep going when I think this day is the worst it's going to be today, I know tomorrow can't suck any worse. And so I have that in my brain to keep going and plug in and go, you know what? The motto is a little fat kid reference, but there's always French fries at the bottom of the bag. In McDonald's, when you reach in there, you get all the French fries out, you think you got them all, you look in there, sure as hell, there's more French fries down there.
Dude, that's the best feeling in the world, is knowing that you're driving, you're reaching, you're getting through the napkins and the ketchup packets, getting stabbed in the pinky with the plastic fork, and then there's that one fraction of a piece of a fry. Even though you've eaten the whole container, that's the one that tastes the best. And that
exactly right. And I attribute that to life. We've had all of us had challenges in life, and in business, there's certainly challenges that keep me awake at night that are monetary related or risk related or whatever. But knowing if I had a bad day today, there's always French fries at the bottom of the bag. It's amazing how that works. That I come in the next day, and a guy that I've been chasing for 3 months is finally ready to sit down and have a conversation about all of his insurance. Or COVID happens, and I furloughed some employees, and then I sat here for a week, and then my phone didn't quit ringing for 5 months. And I wrote by myself with a backwards cap and some flip-flops, probably $500,000 in insurance by my damn self in the office. So things like that, there's always a bright side. And I think just giving up and saying, it's just too hard, I can't do it. I don't know if you probably know this, but the Marine Corps tells you that's not okay. They don't let you give up, right? So
thank God they do, man. I mean, some of the best people that I know have come out of the Marine Corps. Yeah. And they didn't enter the Marine Corps as some of the best people I know.
True.
Yeah, I was. I had a nephew one time. He's like, "Hey, Uncle Aaron, should I maybe go talk to the Marine Corps?" I was like, "You need none of that smoke. They will eat you alive, and I know you will not come out of there in a better position you are now." But no, I think it's one thing they say in Marine Corps graduation is, yes, we did make a fine-tuned, Marine and all that, but I had to have something that was moldable to work with to make him this Marine. So to the credit goes to the parents. You did a great job of raising an outstanding human being. We just made him that much better by putting the title U.S. Marine on him.
Very cool.
That's. I mean, I can't even. I just can't even imagine like basic training or any of that stuff at this point. And I mean, for me, it wasn't really. I never was the person who had the desire to go into the military. You know, if I would have been drafted, I definitely would have gone. But I think that you have to have your head in the right place when you make the conscious decision to go in. And the reason why I say that is this. I think that if you're not fully committed to it going in, you're going to quit, or you're going to try and quit. And, you know, I wonder how many people, you know, just think, hey, I'm going to go into the Army when I get out of high school, and, you know, we'll see what happens after that. What's the real path to success there? But the people are like, you know what, this is what I've always wanted to do. I want to go in. Here's how I'm going to do it. And I mean, let's face it, man. If you go through ROTC programs and the other things, and you actually, or even go to one of the academies, it's a whole different experience going through the military when you start as an officer than when you start as an enlisted person. And so I don't even know where I'm going with that, to be honest with you. It's just I'm always interested to talk to veterans and people that are actively serving. Number one, out of appreciation for the fact that they did that. But number two, just to hear the story, because everybody that you talk to gets something different out of that experience.
So whenever I was raised by a Marine. I said my father was a Marine. He was went to Vietnam, and so his era of Marine Corps is far different than what I experienced. I mean, they were still putting the fist on you then. You know,
that's Full Metal Jacket, man.
Well,
Full Metal Jacket Marine Corps.
No, that was that. He had his thumbnail bitten off by his drill instructor and spit on his T-shirt. In boot camp. Yeah, you can't do that now. You can't do that now.
Dude, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Number one, it's bad that it happened, but like, why was that the option? Like, I mean,
yeah.
Because he was told once to put his thumb along his hand, and he let it come down again, and he that muscle memory jogged his man. He'll never do that again. But so I learned that, you know, I didn't know what a Marine was, but I can still in my mind's eye vision my dad's boot camp photo that was on his drawers, chest of drawers, and it was I guess a dresser, and I remember looking up at an angle. So I was shorter than that, so I would had to be 3 or 4. I remember asking my dad what a Marine was, and he tried to tell me what a Marine was, and I said, I want to be a Marine. And I never let go of that, and I still have that photo of my dad. Now I have mine next to his, but I kind of a funny story. I actually called the recruiter. Hey, you know, I'm going to the Marine Corps. You know, and I was talking to a recruiter, and it was a woman, and she says, "Well, yeah, I'll give you a call back on Thursday. No problem." So I waited for Thursday to come around to finally fulfill my lifelong dream of becoming a Marine, and she didn't call me back. And so I waited a couple more days. And I called Monday morning. I was hot. I was upset. I was furious. I called the recruiting office, and some Marine Sergeant Sherman answered, and he says, "Marine Sergeant Sherman." I said, "I don't know what the hell's going on over there, but I talked to Sergeant Hill, and I don't care if you have to take me to Marine Corps boot camp or I'll fly myself to California. What are we doing here?" And a hand on the Bible, that conversation happened. He goes, "Whoa! Who are you? Who did you talk to?" He says, "I'll be at your house in 10 minutes. And he damn sure showed up and picked me up. But again, you don't have those conversations typically saying, "Hey, I'm going to Marine Corps boot camp. How do you want to do this? I'm going, or you're going to take me there? It's whatever. I'll fly myself." But
you listen here, Sergeant Sherman.
I was so enamored by hearing the stories of lore of Marine Corps drill instructors. The first time I saw one, I got in trouble because I was on a bulkhead, which is a wall, and we were in line waiting for something, God knows what, but I saw the drill instructor walk by me. And I did the ultimate error of looking at him as he passed by like that. You don't ever look at a drill instructor, first off. You have a 1,000-yard stare, you look through them or past them. But he stopped and asked me what the F I was staring at, if I wanted to come rub his feet in the duty hut, if I was gay, because I need to let him know now. I mean, but it was like I finally saw a unicorn. I was like, oh my goodness, there's one. For 18 years, I've heard about these things called drill instructors, and there's one. Oh my gosh. I was just in awe and shock. that didn't end well. But I 100% have learned so much from the Marine Corps. I use it as a part of how I lead my team. Leaders always eat last. Whatever I can do to make them more productive, I will do first. If it sacrifices from myself, I will do that. Another Marine that I learned a lot from, Daniel Sung. That guy, I met him in Paradiso Presents, a fantastic human being. I'm still trying to get out to California to go see him and go see our old stomping grounds in Camp Pendleton. But
he's a good dude, man. I talked to him yesterday, actually.
Yeah, he's one of the best. Yeah, I don't talk to him as much as I should, but when we talk, it's just like we never left off. And he's just a phenomenal person, and his story is just unbelievable. But I think so much of him and other Marines and that are in business as well. I try to emulate as much as I can from those guys.
So what would you say the biggest challenge you faced having opened your agency, and as you've added all of the different lines of coverage and options that you have for clients at this point, what's the biggest challenge you faced getting to where you're at?
The biggest challenge, I think, is knowing what I needed to do and what I didn't need to do. So I was thinking about this, how do I learn, right? What do I learn? Podcast, and that's why I wanted to thank you so much, is I learn from podcast. Scott and Bradley's podcast, I learned so much from them. That's like my Bible. Other podcasts, your podcast, that is how I learn. I don't do well sitting in a classroom and have someone drone on about God knows what. Chunking the information and taking things that I can learn. I guess gleaning what's gold and what's tailings, if you will, is because we all get distracted by a shiny object in our agency and say, hey, that looks cool, let me go try that. But I think the hardest thing, is learning things that I need to do now, things I need to do soon, and things I need to get done eventually, right? And the eventually is probably profitable in 10 years. The now is profitable now, and I got to do that now to create a good foundation for my agency to be successful long term. So I think learning these things, and I didn't make a whole bunch of mistakes, thank God, and only because I had resources to call. And I still tell people, anybody that calls my office and wants help, I owe them, because people who've helped me and answer the call, Chris Paradiso, Mike Stromso, called me and said, hey, we want to help you. What in the hell? So I am forever in debt to whomever may call me and ask for help. I will do whatever I can to help those guys, because I've gotten help from so many people that I have no business really talking to. And for that, they've given me the nuggets of wisdom. I spent a week with Chris Paradiso at his house, and I was taking notes. I said, I need to let you know, I'm knocking everything you're doing off. I'm knocking this off. I'm just letting you know.
You know what? He's perfectly fine with that.
He is, yeah. Now, the challenge is if I can implement everything I've said I'm going to do, because I know what I need to do, but implementing all that's a whole nother conversation.
Story, sure.
Well, and the thing is, man, what I appreciate about Chris is I've gotten to know him better and better. Number one, he's an open book. And it's not just about all the good stuff. He's going to tell you what mistakes he's made, what things they're still trying to correct in an effort to keep you from doing the same thing or make sure you're not doing it. So, the time that I got to spend with him and the group of guys I was with in Boston several weeks ago, it was just really refreshing to sit around and talk shop when you're not on a podcast, right? Where you're not, you don't have that filter of let's give everybody all the value and all the good that's going on. And you could just say, look, here's some place where I struggle. And, we came out of that meeting with some really good things. And, Kyle and I were even talking about this. One of the biggest things that I got from being up there was that we don't do a good job, especially in personal lines. Commercial and the type of commercial we write, this isn't as big a deal. But in personal lines, it's something that as we grow it, we need to do. And that is have an automation sequence and have follow-up procedures and expectation setting when somebody has a claim. Because many times it's the first time some of these people have ever had a claim before, and they don't know how they should set that up. They don't know what they should expect. You know, they see everything on TV, or they see what happens in the lawyer commercials or in the different television shows and things they watch. But just from the standpoint of, hey, this is a bad time for you, I get it, and I'm so sorry this has happened, but I want to reassure you that our firm is here to help be the interface between you and the insurance company. And I think it's important when you come up with that messaging, how you say that, because I think a lot of times people automatically assume we're tied in with the insurance company, and you know, anything that they tell the insurance company's automatically going to come back to us, or you know, they just think that we're going to take the carrier's side on every single thing that happens in a claim. And I think that if you set the expectations up front, even as much as letting people know you're going to hear from an adjuster in 24 to 48 hours, but I want to let you know I've already set a reminder for myself. I'm going to follow up with you in 72 hours to make sure that you've heard from that person. Now, if you haven't and you want to proactively reach out to me, you're welcome to do that at any time. And then just giving them those little pieces of communication along the way is huge. And then guess what happens when you're done? That is the absolute best time to go get a positive review on Google. Who cares if you save money? Who cares if the person offered great customer service when nothing was really on the line? I want the Google reviews that say, I had the absolute worst thing that could happen to me. My house burnt down, and everything else. But all I can tell you, through all of the negative that happened, the one thing that kept me solid was the communication from Florida Risk and all that they did to me, or did for me, to make sure that this thing was taken care of as expediently as it could and paid out in the amount that it should have been paid out. And that's that's it, man. And you've heard Scott talk about it before. Scott Howell talks about, insurance agents are made when claims happen. That's the God's honest truth. And I think all of us probably, and I say all of us loosely, but I would say the overwhelming majority of agencies out there really don't do everything they could to set those client expectations correctly, and then they get upset when they lose accounts or people get irritated with it.
And I think that's the thing. I think we're so focused, or at least I found myself in this position, being so focused on getting the deal done and across the line and talking about all the good things, and claims always have such a negative connotation to it, where you almost, even if it's subconsciously, try to avoid talking about it because it's not a good situation for them. And I think that's kind of what happens there, and it needs to change. I think it's all about the messaging that we give when we're in that position at the point of sale. It's something that I need to do better, for sure.
Yeah, I think the thing that has my filter clouded is the fact that I've got clients that have 500 employees. Am I going to send something out about a workers' comp claim in a 500 employee company? Probably not. And so again, it goes back to me consciously having to reinvent how I look at the different segments of my business, because it's a completely different process. I mean, you have a 500 employee company, you're having workers' comp claims. I mean, maybe not on a regular basis, but you're going to have a couple a year, unless you have a really good year and a little bit of luck. But personal lines is completely different. The other thing is, a company's not worried about their livelihood with one comp claim. Somebody gets their car totaled, maybe they can't qualify for a loan to replace it. Maybe they are upside down on their financing. I mean, there's just so many different pieces and parts to it that I walked away from.
And it's their personal property. It means something. Obviously, a business to a business owner is important and valued, but it's different than your house burning down or your car being totaled and not having. It's just that there's an emotional attachment to it that's greater than that of what a business is, in my opinion.
You know what? I just noticed something, man. I don't know if yours was intentional or not, but you're wearing the colors on your FRP hat, the red, white, and blue. And so maybe you prepared for Aron today. Maybe you didn't. I did prepare for him. So let me show you what I got.
Nice.
Let's see.
Nice.
I'm talking to a man from Texas. I've got the black cherry Nile Croc boots on today. You got to wear boots when you're dealing with the Texans, man.
That's it, baby. Yeah, the lesson with claims I learned is, I always say this all the time, is people want cheap insurance until a claim happens. Yeah. And I think the thing that drove that home is, y'all probably heard about the big freeze we had here and the powers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we had.
Yeah, you guys had. I mean, that was nuts.
That was, yeah. And I, we're a lot out of power for 4 or 5 days, and we were inconvenienced, right? But I said, the one thing that I can do is just go ahead and check on somebody. So I went to my CRM and sent a mass email out. And I tell you what, the response I got from that we got in here, we came back to work today. I said, get on right now, and we're going to send this stuff out and check on these people. The response I got from that was like, oh my God, no, I don't have a claim, but thank you so much for just checking on me. And that means that I had to use, and so that absolutely put a stake in the ground for me that I had to, granted, be a convenience agency and make things more simple to use, but I also from a compassion and make it more personable. So that claim in those claim situations we had are still ongoing, frankly, but I think the more you can be there and be there for people, when you take a rate increase or when you take have a claim that didn't go the right way, I think those are a little more easily overlooked when you do those things.
So you mentioned your CRM. I'm interested. What's that tech stack look like in your agency?
Not good, frankly, to be completely candid. It's not good. That is my weakness, frankly. I've had some struggles with that. I use Now Certs. I'm trying to kind of have some Zapier connections to do some automation for me on that. But we use Rocket Referrals. We have a marketing company that kind of does some marketing for us, that does some automated dialing and some email stuff and some text blasts for us from a marketing perspective. But it's not as good as what I want it to be. It's probably as good as I need it to be right now. There's always opportunity for me to learn, which is why I listen to y'all's podcast. But if you're looking for some nuggets, you're not going to probably get them from me with technology, unfortunately.
No, look, man, I think that's an honest answer and one that a lot of people struggle with, right? And as frustrating sometimes as it can maybe be to not have certain pieces of technology, I'm also extremely certain that there are plenty of times where people who have too much technology also have those frustrations, or it might even be worse because then you spent a bunch of money on something, one piece of it breaks and it doesn't do what it's supposed to do. I get frustrated with that, all the time. Thankfully we're not down very often inside of our automations and stuff, but to give a great example, we use local traffic marketing. I use Chris Langille from Advisor Evolve. At the beginning of the year, I decided, we're really going to put some emphasis on personal lines. As much as I hate it, the premiums in Florida, if you can get it placed right now, are worth my time at this point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that because I'm too good to write personal lines. I just am building my agency backwards too. I started with commercial and specifically middle market. Then we added in small commercial, personal lines, and these other things. And that's a different path than most people take. But, I put some money behind it. And, we have HubSpot is who we use for our CRM and a lot of automations. We have sales, service, and marketing modules with them. And so I reached out to Chris and Nate at Local Traffic after like 2 or 3 weeks, and I'm like, we had some success, and then it went away. I'm like, fellas, something's not right. I'm not complaining because I get it. When you do any kind of digital advertising, there's a ramp up period that has to happen, and I realized that it may just be ups and downs from that. But we had such good success of having a steady flow of leads coming in. And it's like something's broken. It's turned off. I don't get it. And I'm continuing to pay the ad revenue or the ad bills, but I'm not seeing the return. Can you look? And what we found out was that there was something broken in the communication between the form they filled out and HubSpot. And when I logged in, we had 30 leads that nobody ever worked. And now I'm really pissed, right? Because I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Now we have to fall all over ourselves and beg these people for an opportunity. And just explain, look, I'm sorry, we're very technologically savvy, but unfortunately a piece of our tech broke and we never got this communication until today. We realize you may have moved on somewhere and we certainly would understand that, but if you haven't, we would love the opportunity to earn your trust and subsequently your business by showing you what this is supposed to work like. And that's embarrassing, man, but I also think that if you're transparent with people, you're going to get a lot further along than otherwise. But again, it's frustrating because to me 30 leads is probably between 5 and 10 clients for us out of 30.
Yeah,
that's a chunk of change down here.
It absolutely is. I tell my people all the time, I said, I will all day long lose on price and maybe, we've actually had a couple of conversations recently, like, and I'm kind of proud that I can say this, like, I realize these people are not my clients. They're currently in my book of business. They're not my clients. And it's not a relationship I want to have long term, so we're going to fire them, and a couple of them we have fired, just because it's going to become a problem real quick with some of the things that they're wanting us to do, and we're not going to do those things. And so, I mean, I too have found that I will do all those things first and be okay with that, but losing a client due to time, we don't get around to it, completely unacceptable. And I would lose my mind 10 times out of 10 if that happens. And we actually had a person leave our agency, and they were still sending messages that should have been forwarded to another person. Long story short, I sent an email blast out, and this guy's like, yeah, well, I'm still waiting on a quote you sent me, or supposed to send me 2 months ago. I panicked, and of course he'd already moved on, like you said. But yeah, those things are inexcusable, and frankly don't happen a lot. But
that's why we bite their thumbnails off.
Yeah, you're gonna remember me, absolutely. But I do want to tell.
Ask you to bring your staff in and ask them to hold their thumbs up so we can do a quick check before we let you go.
Another thing I learned from Chris, I treat my people like gold. So every day at 3:00, I do lattes and espressos for them, whatever they want. Another Paradisoism I learned, but. Yeah, people are like, I have been told 3 times in the span of 12 months, I never want to leave here. And that is she says, I don't ever want to find another job. I love what I do here. And I think we just create such a culture here that, look, we're going to have fun, but we're also going to sell the hell out of some insurance. And if not, that chair you're sitting in has a price tag on it. And if you're not fulfilling that price tag and doing things that are redeemable to the agency, and treating my customers like gold, or our customers like gold, I will find a way to either improve you, or we'll need you to, as Mike Stromso says, return you to the marketplace, right? So
that's a nice way to put it.
Oh yeah, he always sugarcoats those things. We'll return you to the marketplace. So we don't have a lot of that, but I think I've made those mistakes in hiring out of desperation. But the folks I've got now, one of the ladies that I just recently hired. I started to work at a farmer's agency. I quickly learned that was a mistake. But the person who was supposed to be training me, I just hired her 3 weeks ago. So she's got 18 years plus experience on the commercial side. The other girl's got 23 years experience on the commercial side. So I absolutely love what I do. But I do want to share a quick story. And coming into the podcast, I keep thinking, what can I do to give some nuggets back to the listener? What can you glean from this? So I think
you've done plenty already, man. Well, I'm interested in hearing your story.
Yeah, I want to do one more just for these guys. It gave me the confidence. So Chris Paradiso came down for a conference, and it was a conference here in San Antonio. We had made plans to go and have some fun and go see San Antonio. We did go have some lunch, but he had to get back for a speaking engagement. But I spent time with his father, Joe Paradiso. If you've ever met him, they don't make him like that anymore. And his daughter Mia is one of the twins he has, Chris's twins. And so me, his dad, and Mia, and my 2 daughters, Aubrey and Eva, went to go have a good time at Dave & Buster's. So on the way over there, I spent time with Mr. Paradiso, and he asked me about business, and he's an attorney. He's not insurance by trade, but obviously through proximity, he's get a lot of exposure to the insurance side. But he says, well, how's it going? I said, it's going good, and I was just trying to ramp up to the full agency side. And I said, I'm just scared to death. And he goes, and he looks at me, he says, and this is the wisdom you get from a man of his age, says, what are you scared of? And I said, I'm scared that when I hire people, I can't fulfill their paycheck, the promise I made them, because I'm venturing out so much. And he looked at me and he said, you're afraid of the wrong thing. He says, you're afraid of how high of a bridge you're jumping off of. What you need to be concerned with is how deep the water is when you jump. And I go, I never thought of it that way. I'm worried about, he says, frankly, if you're not afraid of what you're jumping off of as the risk, right, you're not taking a big enough risk. He said, but Aron, what's the worst thing that can happen? He says, if it all goes to pot, he goes, what's the worst that could happen? And I go, I guess I have to fire everybody. I feel horrible for a long time about that. And then I rebuild it. He goes, exactly. He goes, you got nothing to lose. Go do it. And I was like, that is gold. That gave me all the confidence. Yeah. And for that, we talk, he and I personally, a handful of times a year, and that wisdom just pours out of that man. And Joe Paradiso is second to none. Chris comes by honestly, raised by fantastic folks, but that wisdom. So if you're thinking of taking that risk out there to grow your agency, build your agency to what you always dreamed it could be, just remember, it's not how high you're jumping off of. It's what happens when you hit the water. How deep is that water? Is it 6 inches or is it 60 feet? You don't know. And most times, 10 times out of 10, usually that water is 60 feet, not the 6 inches.
Well, I can tell you, I mean, that's a great way to wrap up the podcast. And for everybody that's listening to this, I've not had the pleasure of meeting Joe Paradiso, but I do know Chris, and I do know that Joe's fighting a battle with cancer right now and going through treatment, and certainly could use a lot of support through thoughts and prayers and everything. So I would just ask everybody that's listening right now, if you'll think about him for a little bit and just maybe even drop Chris a line and let him know. I know he would appreciate that. So with that, I think we need to wrap up, man. That's a great message. I think everybody can learn from that. And Aron, I just want to thank you, man. Thanks for coming on. Thank you for your service to our country. Thank you for what you're doing to continually help veterans and veteran-owned businesses with their insurance needs. I think a lot of people look at that sometimes and they think, oh, well, that's just a marketing ploy. They're going to do, people are doing that because that's the thing is, let's just go make it look like we care. And I know that's not the case with you. I know that's not the case with Chris. And, we just need a lot more guys like you out there, because I don't know that our country always does the best job when people get out of the military of getting them acclimated to what it's like to be in the business world. And I mean, there's guys out there like Rob Bowen, who's working with a nonprofit right now where I'm going through my closet this weekend, and I'm going to probably, truthfully, here's a fat boy joke. I got about 20 suits that don't fit me anymore from way back when, and they were custom made. They've been sitting collecting dust for 15 years at this point. I'm going to send them up to Rob so he can get them to these guys so they have a good suit to wear to a job interview. You've got guys like Bob Klinger. My goodness, I mean, a Purple Heart recipient. He's running an agency. There are so many resources for people that are coming out of the military that maybe they're wanting to go into the industry. I have so much respect for everybody who's doing what they can, and I know that I'm missing a ton, and I don't mean to. It's just I've been really blessed to be surrounded by so many people that care about first responders and care about the military. This country's jacked right now, and I'm not typically somebody who gets into political stuff because I just don't have the time to answer the email from people I probably wouldn't hang out with anyhow. So at the end of the day, we need to focus on what's going on that's right in the country, and you got what's right, brother, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll say one thing. Reach out to veterans, veteran communities. If you're looking to hire someone that maybe doesn't have the experience but has the dedication and the drive that you need them to be a producer in your agency and have that, reach out to veterans. My goal is if I can help a transitioning veteran service member get out of Camp Pendleton and come to San Antonio, and we have that bond. We stood on the yellow footprints and made a promise to each other that I've got your six today, tomorrow, and otherwise, that if I can keep you employed, if I can keep you supported, and I can keep you, around people that love you and understand you, I've got a good chance of keeping a pistol out of your mouth. That's my goal. So reach out to veterans, give them a shot. These guys are going to go to hell and back for you and for the cause, and give these guys a shot. They certainly need your support right now.
Well, listen, man, I appreciate you carving an hour out of your time to be with us today, and I'm looking forward to seeing you live in San Antonio and taking you out to your favorite steak place when I'm there. So I will not forget that I promised to do that. I do expect you to show up.
Oh, I'll be at Bohannon's. I will all be there. Hey, San Antonio, Texas, if you're in San Antonio, go to Bohannon's. Go see Mo, the waiter. Mo, second to none. You won't regret that.
Well, you tell Mo Big Boy's coming and he likes steak.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys.
All right, man. Absolutely.
You've been listening to the Power Producers Podcast. You can follow Killing Commercial Insurance on Facebook and YouTube. And if you want to take your game to the next level, check out our book, The Extra 2 Minutes, and our website, killingcommercial.com.